So a couple of weeks ago on the show, early in the election campaign, we spoke to a gentleman by the name of Bill O'Brien about how you could actually bet on the outcome of Canada's election. He's the Sportsbook manager at powerplay.com, and he's back with us now, so I figured with only a couple of days left to go, we'd check back and see if and how things have changed. Bill, welcome back. Thanks for being here.
Hey, Aaron, thanks for having me back on.
So when we last spoke, I think we ended up by talking about who the favorites were, and at that time, I believe it was still, the book was telling us it was going to be Mark Carney ahead of Pierre Poilievre. How have things changed over the past couple of weeks? What's the book say now?
Yeah, Mark Carney has probably solidified his favoritism. He is now minus 670 to be, or for the Liberals to be the sworn-in government at the end of the campaign, with Conservatives there plus 400. So yeah, Liberals are looking more likely now than they were when we last spoke. But look, I mean, there's no guarantees there.
But it's interesting because since we last spoke, the polls have actually gotten a little tighter. We're seeing, a margin now of roughly 3.5% or 4%. I think when we spoke back then, it was somewhere in the area of 6%, yet the gap has gotten wider, if you want to call it the smart money, with respect to Mark Carney. How did that change? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so I guess the difference in the polls has definitely come in the meantime. But I guess you could say that a 3.5% lead 3 days before an election is a more important lead than maybe 6 or 7% a month before the election. Because obviously there's an awful lot can happen in that month. There has been obviously no scandals or whatever that could, that would totally switch things around and make the Conservatives favourite. So I guess, the Liberals are going to be happy with that smaller lead, but I guess 3 days out, a smaller lead is, definitely better than a little bigger one a month out.
Okay. How do you actually go ahead? You're actually based in Ireland, right?
I am.
How do you follow this stuff? What do you do to determine these odds? I mean, because they have to change, I guess, fairly regularly as new information comes in. So how do you follow this?
Yeah, so there's a pretty big market out there. Like, there's lots of obviously there's lots of polls. There are some like betting exchanges, which are basically kind of like stock markets, I guess, where people are buying and selling onto different parties. So we kind of keep an eye on those. We look at our own liabilities. So we had an awful lot of our customers betting on the Liberals. All of a sudden, we had a liability that we weren't overly happy to have on the Liberals. So to try balance the books a bit, we push out the odds on the Conservatives to take some money on the Conservatives. And it's all about balancing our liability, I guess, as well as kind of staying on top of, what other companies in the industry think is happening.
And with respect to how big an issue this is, I mean, in terms of money spent, money wagered, where does this sort of fit in?
Yeah, so when we spoke last, I was kind of saying that I was very curious to see, how big the turnover was going to be compared to that of, say, a US election. We haven't gotten anywhere close to the last 2 or 3 US elections, but it's still pretty significant turnover. We're probably seeing something along the line, just under 50% maybe of where we would have been 3 days out from the US election, which is more than what I thought we were going to see. Obviously the US election kind of dominates headlines globally. So I wasn't expecting, I was never expecting to get up to the same levels as that. I'm pretty happy with what we've seen here.
So we know in sports, we talk about prop bets beyond just the score, the winner loser. What are prop bets in the Canadian election?
Yeah, so we don't have huge numbers of prop bets here. We have like who's going to win the popular vote, obviously who is going to be the sworn-in government. We do also have who's going to win the most seats in different provinces.
Oh.
Like the Liberals are a very short odds to win the most seats in Quebec, for example. Bloc Québécois are second favourites there, but it's looking like the Liberals are going to have the most seats in Quebec. So out of all the provinces, the one that seems to be closest at the moment is British Columbia. And pretty much a coin toss between the Liberals and Conservatives there. And then we do also have some markets like, how many seats will certain parties win. And yeah, now I will say we're obviously only a couple of days away from the election now. We will have these markets up for the next day or two, but once the votes start being cast, we'll be taking down most of these prop markets. We will keep up the main, who is going to be the next government market, but the prop bets will probably come down. So if you do want to get bets on that, maybe try to do so over the weekend.
Can I ask, and let's pick one, for example, there's some questions to whether it'll be, if it's a Liberal win, will it be a minority or a majority? Can you bet on that?
We don't actually have that up now at the moment.
Okay.
So let me see. We have sworn in government, who it's going to be. We have the popular vote. We have which political party will win the most seats in Ontario. We have Saskatchewan, Manitoba, British Columbia, Alberta, Quebec. Yes, we have all the provinces, and then we also have how many seats will each of the parties win.
Okay.
And we basically have, like say for the Conservative Party, we have 99 or below, 100 to 119, 120 to 139. So yeah, we have ranges there, I guess. So yeah, they're the markets we have. We don't have whether it's going to be
what do you have? What do you have for the Liberals in terms of seats? What are your options in there?
Yeah, so the range that we have as favourite currently is between 160 and 179. The odds on that are minus 160. And if you think, they're going to do slightly better than that, 180 to 199 is plus 300. 200 to 210 plus 850, and if you think they're just going to have an absolutely fantastic election, 211 or above is plus 900.
So that means, let's take one of those specifically. Let's say you're going to go over 180 or over to the next one, and you put down $100. What are you looking to win if that happens?
If you were going to put just 180 or over, so if you wanted to have all of the options above 180,
or just 180 to what's the next level you have?
180 to 199.
In there.
That'd be plus 300. So if you put $100 down on that, you're going to get back $400.
Okay. Well, it's not a bad bet. By the way, for people who are hearing this, you said, I think we asked last time just to make sure, Quebec's a bit of an outlier when it comes to betting. But if you live in this province, you can still bet online with you at PowerPlay?
Yeah, just visit powerplay.com/sportsbook and you'll be able to get all of this.
Okay. It's going to be fun to watch. Bill, I want to thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks a million for having me on again, Aaron.
Pleasure. Thanks so much. Bill O'Brien at powerplay.com.